What is going on, everybody? I am back today to discuss a sequel to a film that I love quite a bit. As you guys are very well aware, I talk about found footage movies a lot on my channel, and I've referenced multiple times that Stephen Cognetti's Hell House LLC film is one of my favorite found footage films ever made. I feel like that movie is a perfect example of how to utilize the found footage format in a way that is incredibly effective. I love the way that the character relationships are built in that movie. They all feel like really authentic, natural people. And I've seen some complaints that they're like, oh, some of the people aren't likable. And that's honestly the point in that particular movie. And I think like the clash in personalities and the way that the hotel kind of tears the people apart mentally just works really well. What I love so much about Steven as a director in these particular movies, he does an incredible job at building atmosphere and like a really eerie environment that works so well with the haunting images that he showcases on screen. And very soon, Hell House LLC Lineage, the final film in the franchise, is coming to theaters. And I thought this would be the perfect time to revisit the franchise and discuss them. And I was gonna redo my review for the first Hell House LLC, but I did it about 2 years ago. I watched that movie over and over again. It's really fresh in my mind, and I feel like I've discussed it enough times here to not need to do a full video again. But I definitely wanted to revisit at least the second and the third films in the franchise because the first movie I've seen probably 10 to 12 times. I've seen it over and over again. And the newest film, Carmichael Manor, I loved it so much. I've seen it like two or three times. But the two in the middle, I wasn't as big of a fan of these movies when I watched them the first time around. And I was curious. I watched both of them as soon as they went to Shudder, and I didn't really remember much about either one of them. So I wanted it to be fresh in my mind for when I went to see Lineage. So today I'm going to discuss Hell House LLC II, The Abaddon Hotel with you. Hell House LLC II, The Abaddon Hotel is directed by Stephen Cognetti. 8 years after the opening night tragedy of Hell House LLC, many unanswered questions remain. Thanks to an anonymous tip, an investigative journalist is convinced that key evidence is hidden inside the Abaddon Hotel. She assembles a team to break into the hotel in hopes of discovering the truth. But the source of the tip and secrets of the Abaddon Hotel are more horrifying than any of them could imagine. So, like I said, I was really excited to watch this movie. I was really excited to watch this movie again because my feelings about it the first time were I wasn't a huge fan of it in comparison to the first movie. And I hadn't revisited it in several years because I was worried that like I would just dislike it equally as much. But I'm happy to come on here and say today I enjoyed this a lot more than I remembered it originally. It's definitely not as good as the first film in the franchise. I don't think it comes anywhere near to how great the setup of the characters in that movie are and the environment and the atmosphere. But I do think there are plenty of moments in this that do a great job of emulating what make the first film so incredibly special. And I'm excited to talk to you about it a little bit today. So at the beginning of this movie, we're jumped on this like morning news segment where a bunch of people are being interviewed about Hell House, and the news anchor there is kind of discussing the tragedy that happened in the original movie, and then all of these people that have gone to the hotel, footage that has been put up online, and how the community seems to be horrified with it. Well, one of the guys who is involved with the hotel, who I think he's partial owner or member of the community, is on there to talk about how there's nothing wrong with it. He doesn't understand why people are so incredibly scared, and really kind of pushing that people are overreacting about the whole situation. And then there's another guy that's there who's like a medium who wants to go in and investigate because he believes he can get to the bottom of it and figure out how to, either get rid of the entity there or solve the problem that people are having with the hotel. But our main focus is Mitchell, who is a survivor from the original movie, and he is coming on there to essentially tell the public about the dangers of the Abaddon and what he believes is actually happening there. And so we're getting bits and pieces of that interview segment while simultaneously we are introduced to Jessica, who is an investigative journalist who has received these anonymous tips about information about the Abaddon that she can find if she goes there and investigates. And she puts together a team that is going to go in and try to find this stuff. Well, she eventually meets up with Mitchell, who she knows is the survivor, and she feels like he is the best opportunity to go in there with her to find find this stuff because they've never been in there before. Outside of the footage that they've seen, they don't really know how to navigate the hotel. And as they've heard, it's confusing and people get lost in there. And ultimately, most of the people that enter don't leave. And so he eventually reluctantly agrees because he's drawn to it because of losing his friends. And he really wants to get some form of answers. And the entirety of the film is this investigative group and that medium going into the Abaddon together to try to find answers as to what is going on. Like I said, I really enjoyed this a lot more than I did the initial time that I watched the movie, and there's a lot of reasons for that. For starters, I really enjoy the atmosphere of this movie. I think the Abaddon Hotel is a perfect environment to create a horror movie. There's something about it, like even from the first movie, you just remember so many of these rooms so distinctly, and certain parts of the hotel, like the basement is truly horrifying, but upstairs in the different rooms that they stayed at in the first one, there's something so eerie and ominous about it. The abandoned bar that they walk past, the like little dining room seating area, there's so much personality to it, and you can tell Cognetti really pays a lot of attention to detail and how he wants to present certain elements of this hotel to really immerse you into it. I love the cut-ins of like kids sneaking in there and just little bits of detail, like someone will walk up on it and they're like, I don't know how I'm going to get in there, and a door just creaks open really slowly. And what I love about the first Hell House LLC, and one of the things that I think Cognetti does a really good job replicating here, is forcing you as an audience member to stare at something uncomfortable. What I thought was so effective about the first Hell House LLC, it's not a jump scare movie. It is a movie that is filled with images that you are required to sit and stare and digest. It's not a bunch of jump scares on screen. It's not constantly trying to play a loud noise and get you to react to it. It's genuinely just showing you horrific imagery and letting it sit with you. And I think this movie does a really nice job replicating that. There's a really great scene early on where they're showing the footage of a kid that sneaks in there, and there's like these legs that you can just see standing at the staircase, and the kid says, I'm sorry, I'll leave now. And then the camera just keeps recording. It doesn't move anywhere. And the news reporters, like, it just kept recording that all night long. And that's horrifying. Like, to think about being in that situation, like, was he taken? Was the phone being held by someone else? Like, what was going on? And there's a lot of great moments like that throughout. There's one scene that's really excellent where the medium goes in with his cameraman, and they're in this room, and they kind of turn, and when they look back, these nooses just drop from the ceiling. And that's what I love about it. It's not like jump scares and something's popping out from around the corner. It's just like you seeing a horrific image and like immediately being like, okay, what's going to happen next? And this movie is filled with that. One of the things that I appreciated about it this time around is that I feel like the pacing is very chaotic in a good way. It's like it just keeps ramping up. The parts of the movie where it slows down a little bit are when it jumps back to the news segment, but I did find it this time to be much more engaging than the first time that I watched the movie. And there were things that I very vividly remembered from it that genuinely scared me this time around. And I was appreciative of that. I would say my biggest issues with this, one of the biggest detriments to this film, is I feel like some of the performances are not great. There are some really solid performances here. I think the actor who plays Mitchell does a really nice job, and the actress who plays Jessica, I feel like they both really are kind of the driving force of this movie. And even like the crew that they're with, they give me a lot of like reminder of why I enjoyed the first movie so much. I feel like even when, they're playing into humor a little bit more, there's a joke they drop at one point in the movie where it's like really amplified and tense. And I feel like that's what I like about Cognetti is in the original film, it was similar. Like when things started to get a little heated, they would kind of be playing around about it because they didn't want to come to terms with the fact that they were experiencing something so horrific. And I liked that. But some of the actors that are in the news segment portion and some of the other actors that show up in this, I don't feel like they give great performances, but I'm able to excuse it because of the fact that I feel like the rest of the movie is so immersive. And then like the cutbacks to the news segment, sometimes they're done in a way that I don't feel like transitions the movie perfectly. Like the editing is a little bit jarring at times, which can also take you a little bit out of it. But I do think the lore that they add on to the Abaddon Hotel and the creation of it and just kind of building on the story that they told you in the first movie is enough to make it a very worthwhile addition to the franchise. And I don't think it's nearly as good as the first movie, and from what I remember, it's nowhere near as good as the fourth installment in there. But I do think it's a worthwhile addition, and if you're a fan of the first movie, I think you'll find something to appreciate with this one as well. So have you seen Hell House LLC 2, The Abaddon Hotel? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was a lot better than I remembered it. I really enjoyed it. It genuinely scared me, and I'm looking forward to revisiting the third one because I haven't seen it in a while. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have a great rest of your day.